screaming her heart out for her. But the fact is, these men, the soldier is born to drill and die because he is a soldier with a great honor for their patriotism. In conclusion, we can understand that this poem, The Wise Kind, in this poem, The Wise Kind, the writer successfully presented that the title Wise Kind ironically means that war is not kind. He gives many touched lines to prove the, that wars are terrible with no humanity but with cruelty and pain. Now, I would like to call Archana to talk about the prose wave.
Good day to you all. Today I would like to speak about the prose wave. Wave is an extract from the original text, Memoir of Life After the Tsunami. In this text, Sonali Derniakala describes her own adventure, how she and her family become victims of the tsunami in 2004 while they were enjoying in a holiday in a national park. Uh, Hotel in Jala National Park. In this extract, she presents a description which is heart-rending and the reader himself is shocked at the gruesome adventure. Natural disasters happen all over the world and they can be utterly devastating for people's lives and the environments in which they live. As natural disasters are caused by nature, there is nothing that we can do to prevent them happening. There are many different natural causes that lead to natural disaster: floods, landslides, earthquakes, tsunamis, volcanic eruptions, and wildfire, and some of the natural disasters. Sonali Derniakala's wave is associated with the horrible event of the tsunami and the fateful December 26th. Sonali Derniakala reminds in her memory about the tragedy caused by the tsunami to her family while they were staying in a hotel close to the beach in Jala Wildlife Park. She lost her two sons, husband, parents, and her friend Olanda, who stayed in the same hotel. Mm. Although Sonali and her husband Steve tried to best to run away from the tidal waves, they could not evade from the waves. It clearly proves that through we are scientifically and technologically advanced in this 21st century, we still face and suffer the consequence of the natural disasters. Mm. Love and sacrifice is one of the theme wrote out in Sonali's Kenyagala book Wave. Some critics have expressed their views on the book highlighting this theme. When the theme is analyzed deeply, mother's love or maternal love is vividly expressed in Sonali's memoir Wave. Mother is a word that holds great meaning to the most people. Mother is a figure that plays an important role in people's life. Nothing can come close to the love that a mother feels for her children. Most women are inherently excellent mothers. Mothers may make sure that their children are safe and happy throughout their childhood. It is hard to describe the feeling that a mother has towards her children. There's a famous saying, God could not be everywhere, so he invented mothers. These words are a great inspiration to all the mothers throughout the world. There is another saying that the world depends on mother's breast milk and the sun rays. Um, in the prose wave, the author's innate instinct seems to be that of a mother to protect her children. So she gives her priority to serve the children when the tidal waves invade the hotel. I grabbed Vic and Melly and we all ran out of the front door. I was ahead of Steve. I held the boys each my hand. Later, when the water rises for filling the jeep, she tries to lift the boys high with the help of her husband to prevent them sink at the expense of her life. Even after losing the hold of the two children and the sight of her husband, she thinks of them by floating and struggling with water. Weekend Mali, I thought again, I can't let myself die here in the whatever this is, my boys. When a boy is floating towards her, she thinks that he is Mali. Then she calls him with true maternal love, come to mommy. But she understands that he is not Mali. Thus, through outer memory, the writer finds it difficult to erase the haunting memory of her loving son as a beloved mother. The writer reminds us another occasion that a husband expresses his love for his wife. That is Olanda's father Anton. While Olanda's mother Behula is hoisting herself into the jeep, the driver revs the car engine and the jeep jerks forward. Then she loses the grip and falls off. Although Anton leans out the back of the jeep to reach Begula and drags her up. He fails in his attempt. Then, without being selfish, Anton also jumps out to be with his wife, who is lying on the gravel. It really proves that Anton is really a loving husband with a salient feature of true love like selflessness, commitment, humanity, and so on. It is very tragic that he is fortunate enough to survive, but both his wife and daughter die being victims of the fateful tidal waves. It is also very pathetic how the writer meets Anton at the hospital, searching for his daughter and wife by peeping into the vehicles that the dead bodies are brought. He finds only his daughter's dead body, but not his wife's. He found Orlando, and he told me he found her. She is not with us anymore. She is gone. The writer also loves her parents, but she finds it difficult to accomplish three roles simultaneously at such a crucial time while facing an unfamiliar danger. Here, the guilty consciousness of leaving the parents in the hotel room reveals her love for the parents. We are leaving my parents behind. I panicked now. If I had screamed at their door as we ran out, they could have run with us. It is also natural that grandchildren love their grandparents very much. That is because they have more time to spend and show their loves towards each other, unlike their busy parents. When the writer reminds Jelly and Steve, we didn't get Archie and Sia, Vikram cries loudly because it is unbearable for him to lose their love and affection. Thus, the theme of love and sacrifice is conveyed in the wave, and it can be analyzed by paying attention to the characters and different situations. Their humanity. What is the really meant by human nature? It is really the ways of thinking, feeling, and acting that are common to the most people. In other words, when we say humanity, it includes the qualities like love, compassion, sharing, caring, and so on. Through humanity is considered sublime, we sometimes find both negative and positive features. It is true that the writer displays her maternal love to the optimum when the child waves in with the hotel. She takes immediate actions to run away with the two children and the husband, who are the members of a family unit. It could be the innate instinct that guided her at that moment with a little bit selfishness. In other words, she was compelled to be ego-centric before the um, uh, oncoming unknown disaster. She thereby gives the priority to her family members for survival when there is no any second to think and plan. It's natural that any mother tries her best to protect her child kids at such a disaster time. It is a common inherent quality to even animals. You can witness how a queen cat takes her newborn kitten to safer place in case of any risk of them. But the writer's parents were at the adjoining room when the tsunami waves approached. But the writer did not inform them the mm, panic caused by the tidal waves. Therefore, one can point it out as selfishness, which is considered one of the negative qualities of humanity. The writer's guilty consciousness is in this regard comes out while running out of the hotel. She states, I didn't on the door of my parents' room, which was next to ours, on the right as we ran out. I didn't shout to warn them. I didn't bang on their door and call them out. At the same time, she wonders whether she should stop for them, but I couldn't stop. I will uh, shall us. We must keep running. Again, one can argue that calling to parents is meaningless and it is only wasting time. Perhaps it would have taken some time to convince them the immediate danger, because the writer also did not have any idea or experience about it, whether it is a tsunami. On the other hand, the parents would not have been able to run with them in high speed. She had only two options. One was to stay at the hotel and die together. The other was to run with her two sons and the husband. Perhaps if she had been alone or only with the parents, she would have informed the parents and run with them. It is therefore evident that the circumstance compelled her to be a little bit selfish for the life of her two children. In that sense, can it be justified? When the writer saw Olanda and her parents who had rushed out of their rooms, she would have felt much more guilty conscience of their presence without parents. The driver of the safari jeep should be appreciated because he was waiting for others to get in. If she had been self-centered and insensitive, he could have left alone. On the other hand, he did not have any friendship or relationship with others. He had only humanity. Perhaps he would have escaped from the second big wave and survived if he had left alone serving time. Some may criticize him as he did not stop for Behura and Anton. Again, we have to understand that it was a struggle between life and death. So we cannot expect complete sacrifice and selflessness from an outside. Without any familiarity. A man was driving the jeep. I didn't know who he was. Thus, true human nature is exposed with its positive and negative qualities through the characters of writer, Olanda, Anton, and so on. Now, see one of the past paper question. What does the question is? What does the wave teach us about the human beings and their reaction in the face of a tragedy? Support with examples from the text. Um, I will explain some points. It emphasizes the struggle of people and tragedy they faced in the face of nature and the natural disaster. Um, Love of parents have been highlighted, and further, this story explains to what extent the parents take risks to serve their children life in danger. The strong bond between grandchildren and grandparents has been indicated in the context like Sri Lanka in the recent times. Mm, Humanitarian of people and the sense of helping others have been highlighted through the driver who was helped family from the disastrous moment. The intensity of the tragedy have been well explained since it occurs unexpectedly. The memo disposed how one in life changed all of sudden after incident like tsunami. Through the narrator has a strong bond towards the husband and two children eventually she compelled to live alone without them. It teaches us the philosophy of life, that is how we are vulnerable and how the life is uncertain for us. As the wife is prepared to face alone, practically of the life is exposed. Although the reactions of individuals are unpredictable, in times where what they are exposed to danger. It has been explained in many stages of memory. The narrator misses her parents, their reaction to shading their children, and their reaction to see the Quran can be taken for evidence. It many points the nature has been entertaining and the noble pose due to its marvelous and beautiful appearance. This is how the sea looked at the beginning of the memoir. Also, the memoir teach the life of lesson for us how we have to enjoy our life since it is uncertain and people are unaware about the next moment of life. As such, each second of life has to be lived without wastely in order to overcome this potential in our life. These are the points that can be included in the past paper question. Thank you.
Thank you, Rachana. Now I would like to call Arnavi to talk about the poem The Breakfast.
Good evening to you all. Today I want to speak about Breakfast by Yogarajah. Yogarajah is the most famous English poet who plays a vital role in the world of poetry. And his poem, The Breakfast, is about the man who seems to be firmly ignoring the speaker of the poem. This poem is narrated in the first person point of view. It was written in a year after the World War II. It reflects the situation of many people after the World War II. It reflects the situation of many people, and moreover, Breakfast, the poem, which is translated version of the French poem. Because of this reason, this poem fails to have a character rhyming scheme, but it gives enough meaning without it, and because of its deeper meaning, it has the highest place in the world of poetry. Breakfast is a poem which consists of 35 lines, and the irregular form of the lines projects the feelings and the emotions of the speaker towards the person who indicates as he in this poem. This poem depicts the sense of the actions which were happened in the morning. Breakfast is the mealtime. We all know that breakfast is the mealtime, which is the symbol of the starting of the day. The speaker should not mention in the poem with a name or position, and he or she is addressing the continuous actions of the person who was indicated as he. The relationship between the speaker and the person who referred to as he may be the husband and wife, because the speaker views all the activities of that person, and we all know that she's wife because speaker views all the activities of that person. And here the speaker carefully observe and describing all the things happened in the kitchen, which was done by her husband. It shows the deep love and caring of the speaker towards the person who indicates as he in this poem. Breakfast. In the first stanza, there is no adjectives or adverbs used in this poem, and it shows the situation of the speaker. It was written in a simple pattern because of the reason from the children to adult can enjoy the real taste of this poem. But I think this poem speaks a lot with its simple style. The first 10 lines paints the activities of the speaker's husband, which were done in the morning as a daily routine. And from this, we can understand the breakfast method of the Frenchers and the morning routine of them as it was translated version, and the poem originated and this poem was originated in French. And the latter lines of the first stanza tries to say something to the readers, and it creates the curiosity towards the readers that why the person didn't speak to the speaker, and the speaker mentioned the negative thing in a positive pattern. Here the word without is used for this purpose, and the great example to read the speaker's mindset. And when we analyze it critically, we can identify that the speaker is highly worrying about the person. And when we glimpse in the next stanza, second stanza, we can identify that the person who was addressed by the speaker is a person who do many unwanted things. A cigarette is a symbol of bad, and it shows the bad behavior of the person who indicate as he. Here the speaker reveals a little about the person. Narrator uses the possessive pronoun to show the possessive nature of the person. He made rings with smoke. It portrays how that person enjoys smoking, and further it shows the irrespectful nature of the doer. Ash is a symbol of death, and it is the main symbol which used to indicate the death of their relationship. Past tense suggests the bitter past experiences of the narrator, which she has to underwent with his husband. In this poem, the word without is used in 5 times in order to emphasize the absence of the communication between the narrator and the person who known as he. It is called as repetition. We all know that in many cases the absence of the communication is the main reason for the blossoms of many family conflicts, and here the lack of communication is the root for this conflict between the wife and the husband. And the last 2 lines of the second stanza indicates the irrespectful nature of the person. He didn't care about the speaker. He didn't invite the speaker to the breakfast. And it is irony that the mealtime, which has to start with love, starts with hateness and sadness. The man behaves in a mechanical way toward his wife, and the narrator, disappointed with the actions of her husband. And here the husband comes as a person who do not respect the feelings of the narrator or the woman. Here the woman's feelings are destroyed by the person who addresses as he in this poem breakfast. Let's skip the second stanza and move into the third stanza. The third stanza portrays the sudden actions of the husband. The husband is leaving from the house wearing hat and raincoat. He wears raincoat because it was raining outside, and it shows how the husband is getting ready and leave his wife alone even though it's raining outside. It paints the cold nature of the husband as well. Rainy day is a day when everyone stay in their home, and it shows the inner feelings of the speaker. Rain is a symbol of unhealthy condition, and here the rainy day used to symbolize the weather. Rainy day used to symbolize the unhealthy condition of the relationship between the husband and wife. And here the speaker is crying for the actions made by her husband, but the poet indirectly indicates that the shedding tears of the narrator by setting the climate as the moody and rainy weather. The latter part of the poem indicates that the narrator had been waiting for the response of the man, but according to this poem, it's clear that the readers can understand that the wife hasn't still get any response from her husband. It shows the suffering of the wife because of her inhumanity husband. And this is a poem about the bottle of sadness in narrator's life because of her husband. Let's analyze the title. The title is very suitable for this poem because this poem indicates the activities which are done by the person in the morning, and how he makes his breakfast and get ready to go. And it also paints the breakfast method of French people, as it was originated in French, and this was translated version of the French poem. Let's analyze the poetic techniques. When we see this poem, we can understand that the mood of the poem is gloomy and disturbing. Mood is according to the reader's mindset, and the tone is according to the poet's point of view. The tone may be a melancholic tone because the speaker was disrupted by the actions of her husband, and she felt very sad. Repetition used in this poem, it is without. He used it many times in order to emphasize the actions of the person who is the husband of the speaker, and without also and it is come. This word without is come in many times in order to paint the deliberate ignorance of the husband toward his own wife, and it used to emphasize the negative thing in a positive way. The repetition of possessive pronoun, his cup of milk, his teaspoon, cup of coffee indicates the egocentric or self-centered nature of the husband. Symbolism is used in this poem in order to illustrate some highlighted things in this poem. Here, the coffee and the milk indicates the morning time, and the cigarette shows the cold or harsh personality of the husband. Ash indicates the death of their relationship. By giving this word, we can understand the death of the relationship between the husband and wife. He wants to tell that because of the conflict, the lives of the husband and the wife are moving to the hell. Rainy Day paints the inner sadness of the speaker, and the poet indirectly portrays the tears of the wife by addressing the rainy mood. The poem is rich in visual imagery. A poet successfully used the visual imagery in his poem to give the real taste of the poem. And then irony is also one of the literary technique used in this poem to illustrate the truth of many people, real truth of many people's life. We all know that breakfast is the starting action in the day, and in a family it is the greatest time to join with each other. But here it's irony that the breakfast time start with distance and frustration. Let's analyze the themes in the poem. The faulty relationship is maybe the major theme. Here the husband and wife have a faulty relationship. Because of their faulty relationship, they can't communicate with each other. In families, it's common to have fights and misunderstandings. And the famous thing in the quote says that the conflict between the husband and wife until till the pot of rice boils over. It shows that the family conflicts are not permanent, but here, as they have the a lack of communication, they fail to understand each other, and it leads them to the world of depression, and it breaks their family bond permanently. And it sees the biggest truth that the communication is the greatest bridge which helps to understand others in our life. Thank you for hearing.
Thank you, Arnavi, for your wonderful presentation. Now I would like to call Archana again to talk about the poem Father and Son.
Now I would like to speak about the poem Father and Son by Cat Stevens. Cat Stevens is a famous British singer. Father and Son is his famous popular song. It's a modern ballad. In this song, the writer speaks about the generation gap that exists between the older generation and the younger generation. This gap is revealed by the father and the son, who represent the two generations respectively. The generation gap is a common feature in many societies, but is more clear in the East. Parents usually think that their grown up children are still small and they lack experience. They feel that their children do not realize the ups and downs of life. These parents also think that their children need their guidance and advice at least for some more years until they get more matured. The conflict arises when their children think the other way. They think that parents are traditional minded and they are unable to realize their uh, aspirations, capabilities, and desires. These children think that they are innovate enough to manage the situation in the modern world. If there is mutual understanding between the parents and children, the conflict can be resolved to some extent. Otherwise, the result would be disastrous and unhappy. In this song, also, we find father and son whose gap is very wide. The father advises the son that the time is not ripe enough for him to make a change in his life. He gives the son a strong warning that he is not matured enough to deal with the modern society. The father even accuses the boy that it's his fault if he thinks that he's strong enough to deal with the modern society. The father suggested marriage to him. The father's suggestion to the son is there is so much you have to know. In the first stanza has been composed as father speak to his son after a long argument. In the first and second lines, he says, "It's not a time to make a change. Just relax, take it easy." Through this, father advises his young son that time of the age of his son is not suitable to take a decision that can change in his son's life as he wants. So he too takes uh, so says to relax and take everything easy, but take it easy. He mentioned that his son should not give any place to emotions because the age of the son and the hot blood of him would be full of emotions and impulse to join the revolution. So the father might have considered that his mature state would have pushed his son into the pit of death. That's why he advises to take relax and not to hurry for anything. You're still young, that's your fault. There is so much you have to know. In this line, the poet directly says that the son is young, so having known his son's feeling without hurting his son, father softly mentioned that his son is wrong way and one can think and analyze about it, but decision should not be taken because of immaturity. So without directly criticizing his son, he accuses his son's age, not his son or his thought. Through this, Cat Stevens has shown the mentality of fear, confusion, and love of father on his son. Here, the father seems to be as a common father in the world who wants to have his son with themselves. Mm, Find a girl, settle down. If you want, you can marry. The above statement of the father creates a shock in the reader's mind because for a father to advise his son to find a girl and marry creates a thought whether it is a character of father. In the previous line, he says that his son should not take any decision in that age and it should not correct. But here he says upside down. Through this, the poet has excellently shown the attitude of a common father through the character absolutely. Because in the view and mentality of father, we have to accept this statement because most of the struggles and revolutions have won, giving valuable lives, and the flag of victory has been hoisted on the grave of the people. So the fear of father, whether he would have to lose his son if he is allowed to go in his way and is reasonable. To stop his son and to protect him, father has to do something. So he takes romantic nature of the age group and says to his son to find a girl and settle down. As the father is an experienced person, he knows the feeling of romance would keep the mind of son cool and not allow to get anger. From the moment I could talk, I was ordered to listen. Now there is a way, and I know that I have to go away. I know I have to go. According to the point of son, father seems to him as person who can't understand him is a dominating character. Advising of father seems to him as orders and commands because of the character of his age. So he get frustrated as his father does not respect his thoughts and desires. At least he takes a decision that he should go away from them in his own way. Through the character of son, the poet has excellently portrayed the young generation. They are always intense and sometimes they act as a crazy fellow without listening to parents or elders. They think what they think and do is correct. So advices of parents appear to them like a seed of neem. In the fourth stanza, uh, it also like the first stanza. Here he emphasizes to his son that he has to get so many experiences to be a man who can who can face and handle any problem in the society. So he advises to sit down patiently and not to hurry for anything. In tension and hurry, he cannot take any proper decision to any problem because father has not such experience in life. Um, and it's because father has got such experiences in life. Thus, he tries to serve his son, showing the correct path. Really, father doesn't like his son leaving them. All the time, I have cried, keeping all the things I knew inside. It's harder, but it's harder to ignore it. Here, the son criticizes the father due to his inability because son emphasizes that his father never listened to him. So he says that he has to keep everything he wants to say in his mind, and it's hard to do so. Here, all things mention the internal desires of son that are unable to express. In this stanza, son directly expresses his hate on elders. He says if they listened to them, he would agree with them, but they are not ready to hear what I want to say. So finally, the son strongly expresses what he want to do. He thinks that it is that only way to leave the home and family for making his life and fulfilling his dreams. Mm, And now we see the one of the past paper question. The question is, father and son depicts a father's lack of understanding of a son's desire to break away and shape a new life. Discuss. Fittest is a evolutionary theory of Darwin. He says that life is struggle for the existence. To survive in the world, we must make our place for ourselves for us. Otherwise, we will have disappeared from the world without any trace. In this poem, Father and Son by Cat Stevens, father has been shown as a follower of traditional and conventional way of life to accept the changes, but he is like all other most of the fathers in the world who loves his son and shows his affection and lies that is his future will be happy. The problem is that they are unable to understand the theory. Only the change is unchangeable. The world is changing in everything in a rocket speed, but the time in which father lived different from today. So they are unable to realize. So they are unable to accept it as they are soaked in a sea of activistic. These thoughts of father create a generation gap between him and his son. So he is not accepted by his son as a person with whom he can share his feelings and all. Father advices to son is typical paternal, advising him to stay in a comfort zone, to take the conservative path of life. Father regards the son as an immature person who lacks experience. There is so much you have to know. While the father considers the son as immature and not old enough to explore the world, the son considers the father's advice as a restriction. The son's desire and the need of explore the world, new experience is juxtaposed with that of the father's anxiety of the son's need. Father is anxious, thinking that his son would come with shattered dreams. For you will still be here, but your dreams may not. Father's love reveals the potential of youth and draws him back. Father still considers that the son as a small boy who would listen to him. From the moment I could talk, I was ordered to listen. These are the points that can be included in this question. Thank you for listening to me.
Thank you, Archana, for your wonderful presentation. Now I call Saityan to present about Vendor of Faith, Chapter 1.
Great to you all. Today I'm going to talk about the novel The Vendor of Spirits.